In this lesson, we are going to clone humans. Well, not exactly. You see, you didn't think cloning was possible, did you? But in Photoshop, it is possible. Because all things are possible in Photoshop. Almost. Yes, we are going to make objects disappear. We're going to do what they do in the movies, basically, on a smaller scale. And it's not that hard to do. So let's go in. Let's begin. View and organize photos. Yep, there's this special tool called the Clone Stamp tool. And don't worry, it's not illegal. How cloning of certain things is illegal these days. Don't worry about it in this case, because within Photoshop Elements, all cloning is legal. Yes. Alright, here we are. Now, you can do this exercise with anything you want. I know I preface most of the exercises. I don't want you to feel limited to the pictures I'm choosing. But this one that came with Photoshop, the vehicles, the old vehicles, we're going to grab that one. That should be in your Elements samples folder that I showed you before. We're going to pull it into standard edit mode. Yes. When I first saw what this tool could do, I was amazed. Simply flabbergasted, I was. Yes. Alright. Now, only because I want to deal with black and white, I just like black and white. I'm going to change this image. We did this in a previous lesson. I'm going to change it to grayscale. Alright, so I change it to grayscale. I'm going to zoom in because I'm going to make this car right here disappear. The one with the guy next to it. Alright? I mean disappear. It's going to be gone. No one will even know it's there. Yes. Check it out. Go over here to the toolbox. Grab the Clone Stamp tool, or shortcuts S. And here's what we're going to do. When you hold Alt, you notice how it switches to our line of sight crosshairs? That means that that's where you're sampling from. That's the section you're cloning. So wherever you sample from, let's say I sampled here. Well, let me sample. You're going to pick a place and click on your mouse. That's it. Now that particular place is sampled. Now, if I put my mouse here, it's going to start cloning from that place I originally sampled from. But then as I drag over, it's going to start cloning, stay proportionately the same distance as when I first start sampling. Watch. So when I click here, you see that other crosshairs? That means it's going to sample there, and as I pull left, it's going to continue to sample, not from the same exact spot, but start to pull over and sample from areas to the left, which gives you more variety. Sorry, I right-clicked accidentally. So, in this case, what you want to do is instead of just pulling all the way over, you want to pull a little over and then retreat. Pull a little over, retreat. So the sampling fits. But you see how it stays proportionately the same distance as I originally began with? And it starts sampling from a different section depending on where I put my mouse. So it's just keeping that distance that I originally specified when I sampled and then first clicked. So I'm going to continue to pull over and retreat. Pull over, retreat. Pull over, retreat. Oh, and by the way, you want to choose, depending on how big of an area you're working with, you're going to have to adjust your brush size. Because if you had something gigantic, you're not going to get your detailed disappearance here. It's going to be harder to work with the larger a brush you have in something like this. So make sure you pick an appropriate brush size. I've chosen 9, normal, and the opacity 100%. So let me continue to pull over and retreat, pull over and retreat, pull over and retreat, and even down here I'm going to pull over and retreat, pull over and retreat, pull over and retreat. And we may wish to sample a different section. For instance, I'll go over here so it doesn't all look the same here. I'm going to go over to this side and hit Alt and sample from there. Go, retreat, go, retreat, go, retreat. So you can either sample below or to the side of. Watch. So if I sample down here, and then I move my cursor up, see how it's pulling from down there now? So if, in this case, if I was sampling and making something disappear up here, I would proportionately put my sample and where I first click in the right place. You'll get the hang of it the more you do it. But in this case, I want to sample to the left here, and then move my cursor to the right and just sample straight over like that. Like so. Now let me show you what I meant by instead of pulling left or pulling right, pulling down. So I'm going to sample from, let's say, right here, and I'm going to move my cursor down. And now you notice I can pull it back and forth like that. I just got to be really careful and not drink a lot of coffee as I do this. Like so. Oops. See, I started sampling from part of the car. So I'm going to resample over here. Now, instead of sampling from down here, I'm going to sample from the trees. So I'm going to hit Alt up here, click, and now I'm going to start pasting trees here instead of that grass. Oops. Alright. A little more trees here. And now I'm going to sample right here, because you notice how the tree line ends and then the grass begins? Well, that line, I kind of want that line to extend a little bit back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample from the line here to the left, hit Alt, and now I'm going to pull over to the right. Watch. Alright. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Now I'm going to sample a little bit more down here. I think this stuff looks like tree stuff. So I think that looks pretty good. So do it to taste. And now I'm going to back up, take a look at how it looks unzoomed. Alright. You can hardly tell the car was even there. Might go in and smooth this section out just a little bit. I'm going to grab the clone stamp tool again. I just noticed some dark and light spots, and I want to kind of smooth out some of those sections. Alright. I think that looks pretty good. So there, we made the car disappear. Didn't know you could do it. So what you're doing is you're cloning a piece of another area and pasting it, basically. Sampling from an area and pasting it in a different area. So it's a really enhanced version of cut and paste. Do some experimenting with it, and the more you use it, the more you'll get the hang of it. So, enjoy.